Boxing Source checking in here, and I'm just in shock. In reference to Zhilei Zhang getting a stoppage victory over Joe Joyce, handing Joe Joyce the first loss of his career. That's right, the Juggernaut has been stopped as Joe Joyce loses due to him being caught repeatedly with the left hand of the southpaw Zhilei Zhang. Zhilei Big Bang Zhang was able to land that left hand like multiple times from the first round. You saw from the first round, Zhilei Zhang was shooting off that left hand. I mean, it was, pretty quick. And I know that there's some things in reference to Joe Joyce as far as like his mobility, as far as like him being tough and him being able to wear down his opponents. But you gotta be able to have something in order to combat a heavyweight that has a powerful hand. Or in this case with Zhilei Zhang, it was pretty quick coming off there. So I mean, Zhilei Zhang was, throwing off his lead right jab, and he was shooting the left, and you really couldn't have much from Joe Joyce, kind of like trying to defend that left hand, and that was from early. So in those first couple of rounds, you seen the left hand landing repeatedly on Joe Joyce, which really had him in a bind within those first 2 rounds, and he was in a lot of trouble. And I think it was more about this timing, that speed coming off of that left hand from Zhilei Zhang that was throwing off Joe Joyce. So, even though Joe Joyce kind of like was trying to get back into it in the 3rd round, the thing was, his activity wasn't enough to really deter Zhilei Zhang up to that particular point. So by the time it got to like round 4 and round 5, you still seen that, even though Zhang was kind of slipping punches, trying to buy some time and, not really use up his energy, when he landed that left hand, he was still able to land the left hand, right? And so you had one instance where the doctor stepped in beforehand and, evaluated Joe Joyce. And Joe Joyce was able to get past that. And the doctor kind of like whispered off to Howard Foster a little bit. And then the round went through. And then there was like another time that the doctor stepped in. I think, Howard Foster stepped in, called halt to the bout, called the doctor in, and you just had the eye of Joe Joyce. It was just, puffed up, closed and everything like that. And you kind of, if you were able to watch it, you seen that the doctor, said, how many fingers am I holding up? And it looked like, Joe Joyce was able to get that thing there. But then you saw the doctor whisper to the referee, Howard Foster. He's like, I don't know about all this. So Howard Foster ended up calling the stoppage to the bout to hand Joe Joyce his first loss of his professional career. And now Zhilei Zhang is the WBO interim heavyweight champion of the world. And that is crazy. But I mean, think about this though. You had Zhilei Zhang, right? That had a very, very close encounter with Filip Hrgović last year. And there were some that felt like he beat Filip Hrgović. He scored a knockdown against Filip Hrgović. And I think there was one other knockdown that wasn't scored that should have been scored. But, that was a close bout. He ended up being on the short end of that particular decision. But here he was able to show up and show out early and just landed that left hand at will on Joe Joyce, being able to get this win. And he is now the new WBO interim heavyweight champion. Like I said, it's a big setback for Joe Joyce. He feels like he can get right back into it. But, I mean, we've seen some things there with Joe Joyce now. I mean, that, if you have some type of quickness or if you're very fluent with your shots, you could be able to get some good shots in on Joe Joyce. But if you also have power behind that, then you really could halt the progress of Joe Joyce. And the thing about Joe Joyce is, A lot of times he throws a lot of punches and just tries to come forward and works that in order to wear down his opponents. And it looked like that was his strategy here against Zhilei Zhang. But with Zhilei Zhang having that early success with that power left hand, that really set Joe Joyce back, coming from the first 2 rounds. And so, with that being said, you've seen the eye being closed very early within the 3rd round. And every time, Zhilei Zhang was landing that left hand, you kind of like, felt the gasp within the crowd there in the Copper Box Arena over in the United Kingdom. But, it just all culminated there for Zhilei Zhang to eventually get the stoppage victory and defeat Joe Joyce. And, a lot of people felt like Joe Joyce was among the top 5 heavyweights. I mean, there were some that kind of put him up there at number 4. But this one here, a lot of people felt like this was a big upset in the heavyweight division, given where Zhilei Zhang is. What is he, around 39 or so? I know that, Joe Joyce was around 37, but he was, somebody that was like a late starter in the professional ranks. So he was kind of getting a lot of buzz here coming up. But that train has pretty much been derailed. The Juggernaut has been stopped. Wow. We'll probably get more into this on the podcast coming up tomorrow on YouTube. But yeah, real talk. I didn't expect this. But if you like the content on here, you can hit the like button. You can also share this content. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Boxing Source. We really appreciate it. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.